Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I believe we're going to talk about something today that nobody really digs deeper into. And as a parent of a teenager, if that's you, or maybe you know somebody, you don't know how to navigate this particular topic. And we are talking today about high school romance, teenage romance. As a parent, there's a lot of different issues that come up. There's a lot of barriers that need to come up, boundaries as well. And she deals with parents and teenagers all the time as a licensed psychologist. Dr. Gloria Vanderhorst is back with us on the program. Welcome, Gloria. How are you today?
I am good today, and I think teenage romance will be a fun place to focus.
Absolutely. And why don't we start from the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
What age is okay for your teen to date? What do you feel?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. All right. Because the age range, I think, has gotten younger and younger. So we used to think that high school, that's, you're a freshman in high school. That's when you're going to experiment. That's when you're going to fall in love and have your first romance and have your heart broken. But I think more and more middle schoolers are having that experience. Yeah, I have a couple of middle schoolers that I've been working with, and they are attracted to each other, some same sex, some opposite sex. They want to explore. They fall in love. They fall out of love. They get really, really moody about the relationships, or they get scared about relationships. So I think the age range is younger than when you were in high school or when I was in high school. I think it was definitely something that we looked at and parents thought about when the child hit high school age. But now I think you have to be prepared for that experience in middle school. And then, there are always those outliers, the little boys or girls in elementary school who have this bond with each other and feel like they're meant to be together and imagine that they have a romance with each other.
I'm getting visuals as we're talking, and I believe for me, 8th grade, Vicky Scorzelli and my friend Mike Harrison, he was dating her friend, and we would always make sure that we had Dynamints in our pocket back then. Basically Tic Tacs in case a kiss was coming. You bought it at the school store. But as a parent, when, let's say, your middle schooler has a crush on somebody, how do you handle it? Do you encourage it? Do you discourage it? I have some friends who say to their daughter, you're not dating until you turn 16. And right now she's 15. And they just that's it. That's the way, what's happening here. How do you make that decision?
I think it depends on how you define dating, right? So these people go to school together, or they're in different schools, but they hang out together because they see each other at sports events or at club activities, all right, or maybe at the local Y. I mean, they know each other from the swimming pool or the tennis court. And so it depends on how you define dating, because they're going to hang out with each other. You're not present. All right. So let's say they meet at the tennis court because they're taking tennis lessons. Right. And so they're going to spend some time walking around that area. They're going to try to find some quiet place where they can just chat with each other. They're actually in the process of dating each other.
Okay.
They're not calling each other and saying, will you go out with me to this particular place? But they're definitely doing that dating exploration. And so I don't think that, I think if you're a parent and you put some kind of a rigid rule out there, what every adolescent will do is challenge that,
Sure.
right? I mean, we're designed to do that. That's what adolescence is all about. We need to explore all the different parts of our character and our personality. I went through it, right? You change your hair, you change your clothes. I remember the jeans jackets with all the little, metal
Pins. Yep. And
things. And
jeans jackets are back. Just saying.
are they back?
They are. Yeah. Yeah, they are. So you said the key word, and I was thinking it, exploration.
Right.
So, all right, we'll center on middle school for the moment, but I think it applies
It
older.
applies to high
Um,
school as well.
you're hanging out with somebody, you like their company.
Hmm.
There's going to be exploration. As a parent, what do you encourage or discourage? Let's center on middle school for this moment.
Okay.
A date. Do we allow them to go to the movies? I guess
They're
parent would
going to
say,
go to the movies. It's not a matter of allowing. All right. So I get together with a group of my girlfriends, right? We go to the movies. Parents support that. Of course, you can go to the movies with your girlfriends, right?
mhm.
So in the lobby, on the street outside of the movie theater, there's also a group of guys who have come under the same auspices, right? We're all going to hang out and go to the movies. All right, those people are going to mix, they're going to separate, they're going to pair up, they're going to leave somebody out,
Sure.
right? So there's not a sense of formal dating that you can lean into as a parent. They're going to come together, they're going to find ways to spend time with each other. What you have to be able to do is to listen and really be curious, right? What
Mm.
interests your daughter? What interests your son? What are they looking for? What happens inside of them when somebody shows interest in them? I want to know what's going on inside. I want to be able to listen to that young person and encourage them to actually explore these different parts of themselves. We have to do it. They have to explore these different parts. All right. So I explore the biker part of me. All right. I explore the debutante part of me. I explore the serious scholarly part of me. All right. And there are boys that are doing the same thing. We match. All right. We develop relationship. We chat with each other. We figure out, does that part really fit me? I want to hold on to that part. And I think the problem in parenting young
Mm.
teenagers is that we don't realize how important that exploration is. We want to guide them. I want you to go down this path. And we tend to do that for safety.
Yeah.
I want to keep you safe. I don't want you to get emotionally hurt. I don't want you to get physically hurt. I don't want you to get into some kind of trouble, either with your body or with your actions. And we get scared. And that's not a healthy way to parent. If I parent out of fear, right, I need to take that fear to my friends, my husband, to my therapist, to other places where I can communicate that fear, process that fear. But with my teenager, I want to be interested in what they're bringing to me.
It's so true because the first thing we'll do is say what the rules are. Okay, well, Jimmy can come over. However, you guys aren't spending time alone in the basement.
Right.
If he's going to be in your room, oh, by the way, can't be in your room.
Right. Yeah. No.
Uh, you know, um, is it reasonable to set those boundaries up?
So it's reasonable to set boundaries, all right, that are going to create safety. for your daughter or your son. It's reasonable to set those kinds of boundaries, but I'm really talking about the way that you are curious about what interests your daughter in looking at this particular guy, right? He's kind of scruffy, and his hair is too long, or he hasn't washed it recently, right?
Sure.
So you're worried. You're really worried about her selection process, but I want to be curious about what interests her and what part of her is attracted to him. So if you get so scared that you can't be curious, then you probably shouldn't say anything. You need to be curious to help your teenager explore herself or himself.
Do you feel, and again, the exploration, the physical thing, that even you put these boundaries up, you guys aren't going to be alone. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. It's going to happen anyway. They're going to find a way.
Yeah, they'll find a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's a desire for more physical intimacy, for some physical exploration, they'll find a way to do that. They're not in your house most
Yeah.
of the time. You know, most of the time they're out at school. There are all kinds of ways at school to sneak away and be separate.
Yep.
They're out at the mall. They're hanging out at sports events. There are all kinds of opportunities to experiment.
What if your child is involved with somebody, they like somebody, you go with your gut, and your gut is telling you he just doesn't
Right.
come from a great family. Maybe you know a
Right.
little bit of information.
Right.
Maybe there's some, call it, negative things there, but your son, daughter really likes
Right.
him.
Right.
But you know, as a parent inside, and I think we have that parental radar that's going off like, this one. What do you do? Do you just let it play itself out?
I don't think you just let it play itself out. Once again, I want to be very curious about what part of my daughter is attracted to this person, and so I'm gonna do some probing.
Okay.
All right, tell me how you feel. Tell me what you experience. Tell me what part of you is really interested in this guy. What's the highest experience? What's the lowest experience with this person? And what keeps you going back? What do you really like about him? Maybe there's some parts of him that I can't see because they're covered up by physical appearance or by moodiness or some attitude that she sees. And so I want to know what keeps you interested in that person. And I really want to know. I don't want to ask that question with the agenda of I'm going to educate you on why this is a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to know what keeps you interested in going back and what part of you is really able to come alive when you're with this person. I remember, experimenting kind of with the biker crowd, right? I'm not a biker. I don't fit in the biker crowd.
Yep.
But as a teenager, I had this real curiosity about what would it be like, right? To have kind of that mentality, the kind of anti-establishment mentality and take risks. I was not a risk taker. So, associating with the guys with the leather jackets in high
Mm-hmm.
school was
Sure.
very interesting, very attractive. I'm sure it scared my parents to death.
Yeah. But I have a friend, and he was in his 40s. And this is, a guy worked for IBM. He was almost like a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we would call him Joe I Know.
Straight
And
laced.
Very. Yeah, you wouldn't even. And then one day he's wearing leather on a motorcycle, and so is his wife. And we would hear some stories like, whoa, you wouldn't. And he's since, maybe 5, 8 years later from that
Right.
abandoned it. But I think it was something that, he and his partner needed to explore. It was
You
just
needed to experiment with.
yeah, yeah. When it comes to your high school son or daughter, or even middle
Hmm.
school, and you had that negative feeling, but you're hearing things like, well, he makes me feel good. He makes me
Hmm.
feel good about myself. We can relate to each other. Maybe there are some similarities that allow that to happen. Is it when you hear those things, should you loosen the reins a little bit from your,
You could say, tell me more. All
and let's
right.
say
That's
you,
that's really important. All right. Someone that makes you feel good about yourself is really important to me. So tell me more. How does that
Hmm.
come about? Because that's food. That's emotional food that your daughter is saying, I need this emotional food and I'm getting it right here. And when I know what that emotional food is, then I can be curious about, have you ever gotten that any other place? Where else do you think you could get it? And if you haven't gotten it any other place, why do you think you haven't?
where I'm going with that, and I love that term, emotional food. If you're feeling that it's not a great fit for your kid,
Hmm. Hmm.
when you hear some of those things and they sound reasonable, is it okay to say, "Oh, all right, it it makes them feel good, and
Hmm.
it's logical, even though my gut is telling me not a good not a good
Right,
person, so to
right.
speak, or maybe there
Hmm.
were some family issues you're aware of that where this person
Hmm.
comes from. Is it okay at that point to say, all right, maybe not a full blessing, but just say, okay, all right, kind of
Yeah,
let it.
well, I have to be transparent. All right. So if my gut is telling me this is probably not a good place for her to hang out for a very long period of time, I don't want it to go any deeper than the experiment that she's running right now. I have to be honest about that.
Mm,
Not preachy, but honest. All right. There's something about this particular guy that hits me right in the gut. And
yeah.
I'm not clear about kind of what it is, but it's a warning signal for me. And I get it that you're not experiencing that warning signal, but I am.
Hmm.
So I'm going to kind of keep watch on it. Maybe it will get weaker, maybe it will get stronger, but I just want you to know that's my take, my experience with this guy as I've had time to interact with him.
I've been in that situation. That's why I'm even
Hmm.
bringing it up. And,
Hmm.
my way of allowing it, but not allowing it was, time constraints. All right, well, you can hang for, 45 minutes and,
Right.
just not controlling it, but more of, you know,
Kind
uh,
of putting boundaries around it.
there was some bad, but
Right.
I loosened them up a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
and my daughter was okay with it. She
Hmm.
understood it. And even when, he lived out of town, not in the same town. So,
Hmm.
a 12, 15-minute drive. And I would allow her to hang out. But I would, and of course, as I knew, it played itself out, in a period
Right.
of time, and then that was that.
And I
But
think that's the hardest part for parents. We get scared and we kind of panic a bit. And so we want to be forceful, right? We want to manage, we want to control. It is so hard to let the experiment keep going and do what you did, all right, which is to kind of put fences around what time, what places,
mhm.
with whom. And our kids need to be able to experiment with these different pieces of their personality.
I
It's
agree.
developmentally the right time to do it. And if I don't help my child do it then, they're going to do it later. Those pieces don't disappear. They're going to do it later. All right. So if I want to hang out with the bad guys and I don't get that opportunity, that makes me vulnerable as an adult to really do something that is bad, that is illegal.
Yeah.
All right. I steal money from my boss. I just shave a little, right? Not a lot. And he never notices. All right. I do it for years, right? And he just never finds out. That's because I never got to experiment with that part of me early on.
Well, to your biker situation, it was something that was in you, and you're curious, so
Right.
it played itself out. But I always get reminded from my friends and I have a half a handful of friends that I've been connected with since high school. Close ones. There's more,
Nice.
but the ones that you really share the stuff with, maybe a handful. And they always remind me, I remember when you were a kid. Remember what you were doing? I'm like, yeah. Oh, you're right.
Right. And that's the other part of it. Parents typically are reluctant to share with their teenagers the experiments that they ran. But it's healthy to share with your teenager at appropriate times when they're heading in that direction and you went there too.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
But it normalizes it.
It does.
It normalizes it. This is what you're supposed to be doing at this developmental stage. And here's how I did it. And here's what I experienced and where I went next and why, right? Why didn't I stay with this crowd that's, stealing things from 7-Eleven and laughing about it and thinking it's really cool?
How much? So I guess this is a key question. How much do you divulge? Do you filter it to a point?
I think everybody is going to filter to a point.
Okay.
Right. But you want to pick out what are the elements that got you interested in doing that experiment, hanging out with those people, or, crossing the line.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It normalizes it. It says, this is the developmental time that you're supposed to be doing these things. And hopefully there's enough protection and cushion around you that you won't do something that we can't support you from and help you out of, right? So you'll fall in the ditch, but hopefully not down the well.
Point.
Right? I can get you out of the ditch, but out of the well,
And here's why you don't want to go down the road that leads to the ditch, because I did it. I've been there and I see it. And I don't care who you are. You might think your teen is my teen's, gets 99, 100 on every test, and they are, just they're wonderful. I trust them fully. Yes, but they're learning and growing. And I had somebody close to me felt that way. And I'll never forget, and this is in the past 5 months, 4 months, being on the phone with her and her 17-year-old, just turning 17, found in the garbage can in her room a condom, pregnancy test, negative. But for those who think not,
right,
you can't.
Yeah, we're all human beings, right? And kids want to experiment. So I am generally concerned when a parent brings kind of the perfect teenager, the one that is trying to do all the right things, but is really containing tons and tons of anxiety. That's got to have a place to go, and it's not going to go anyplace pretty. Trust me.
And anxiety is not only for adults, but rampant in adolescents
Right.
nowadays. So, yeah, that's that we have those challenges as well. Um, not easy to be, not easy to be a parent, but not easy to be a teen
Not easy to be
nowadays.
a teenager
Yeah.
either. Not easy at all, particularly in this day and age with all of the software
Yeah.
available. You don't know where to put limits, and you don't know what rabbit hole you're going to head down. That's why it's so important to have conversation with your teens and to be able to ritualize conversation. Find a way to spend that time with your team so that they have an opportunity to share things with you and you have an opportunity to build a connection with them.
Hmm.
The connection as a teen is very different from the connection as a child. So you have to kind of start a new building with
And
them.
and there's that classic blend between being the parent, but also being somewhat of a friend, more the parent than the
Hmm.
friend. But yeah, there are some parents out there that reverse it. I'm the
Hmm.
friend and I'm the parent. Obviously, not the best way to go.
Right. Yeah, we need to find a balance so that we, still hold boundaries and limits, but we let our teenager know that we're also human. We're vulnerable, right? We've experimented in the past. We didn't know what we know now when we were 16, 14, 12. Um, it's an evolution. And you have to run experiments to figure out what's your character? What do you like about yourself?
Is it reasonable? Final question on this. As a parent, telling your child, teen, um, I'm not you, but I've done a lot of the same things and I've learned from them and I'm sharing it with you. Is that reasonable or is it just you being preachy?
Oh, that's very healthy,
Okay.
right? To be able to share some of your own teen experiences and why you were motivated to do that, what
Hmm.
you experienced, what you took away from that experience. It's really important that they know you're a real human being.
I try to do that, but I wonder if it's resonating. But even if there's some pushback, or if you get you're not me though. How could you even understand? I'm not you. And I can't fully understand because we're two totally different people, and every situation will never be the exact
Right.
same.
Mhm.
However, there are similarities, and this is what I learned. So you might want to just keep that in the back of your mind the next time you're confronted with a situation where you have to make a choice. Gloria, how do we find you? What's your website?
So the website is www.drvanderhorst.com. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com. You can go there and sign up for my blog. I do a blog once a month, and once a week I post things all over Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can find me in all those places too.
Love it. Love talking with you, and also the fact that you've been around for a while. You've got a lot of
Yeah,
experience,
I do.
but on the flip side of that, you're also very plugged into today and what's going on and what we're experiencing. And when you put the two together, a powerful combination
Thank
when
you.
somebody works with you. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. Enjoyed it. Thanks.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.